I, oh my goodness. Anyway, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Live Improve podcast. I, I can't even start this video. Hold on. Hello everybody. Whoa. Okay. Welcome back to the Live Improve podcast. I don't really have any updates. Last week was kind of fun. Weekend was kind of chill, I guess. Not really much to do, but it was like a little weird, you know. And then this week's been pretty okay. I've been very busy though, very tired. I think I was falling asleep yesterday in one of my corporate events, and I found that terrible because I'm like, how am I gonna fall asleep at an event that I kind of scheduled? That's not good at all. So try to get some rest. I took a nap outside my room earlier. It was a really good nap, but kind of embarrassing because everyone could have just seen me sleeping in a chair. But it was a good nap. I don't even know if I got rest, but it was better. Did go to the gym today though, so that's good. Anyway, I'm rambling. Today we're going to be talking about accountability, and I wanted to bring this up because of a lot of stuff that's happening with not only an organization I'm in, but my own personal things going on too. So it came to mind, felt convicted to speak about it. So today we're going to be speaking about accountability. And my starting scripture for today is going to be 2 Corinthians 5:10. For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, so that each of us may receive what is due us for the things done while in the body, whether good or bad. So, just to start off, accountability, right? When we do things on this earth, whether good or bad, it goes into God's record book. And eventually, when we go up to heaven, or when we're waiting at the gates, God is going to bring us to judgment. And he's going to say whether or not you lived for him or whether you lived against him. And don't know about you guys, I feel like I know what side I'm on. Hopefully you all know what side you're on. And if not, then, I don't know. It's okay, but talk about it, Because living the right way, I think, not only leads to a healthy lifestyle, it leads to a happy lifestyle. But it also pleases the Lord. And that's the most important thing. Because we can live for ourselves and live a happy life, blah, blah, blah. But if we're living for ourselves and not pleasing God, God will hold us accountable for that. And I guess the main point of today is going to be holding yourself accountable and holding others accountable, because God will hold us accountable at the end of the day, regardless. But if we don't hold ourselves accountable to God's standards, then we're not really going to be doing the right thing, right? Let's say for example, I hold myself to the standard of getting up at 5:30 in the morning and going to bed at 10 p.m. every day, right? Nothing wrong with that. Not saying that's good or bad. In fact, it probably leans more towards good since it's discipline and God calls us to be disciplined. But if I just do that just to do it, just to say I get it done, then there's not really a point behind it. It's good for me, but anything could stop me just from oh yeah, I'm just gonna stop because nothing's holding me accountable. I'm not holding myself accountable. It's just something I want to do. So to hold myself accountable would be to say, okay, there is an event coming up at, let's say, 10 o'clock on Thursday. And I know I go to bed at 10 p.m. and wake up at 5:30. So to hold myself accountable is to be okay, I'm going to go to this event. It's totally not my fault. I'm just going to be let me just go, and whatever happens, happens. If I don't wake up, I don't wake up. That's not holding myself accountable. That's saying a circumstance I could have easily prevented caused my cycle to break and caused my position to falter in a sense. And that's how a lot of people are with their faith. Some inconvenience comes up in their cycle, some disruption to their methodology, and all of a sudden they're okay, well, it's that thing's fault, so I'm not gonna get involved. If that thing happened completely out of my control, so that's my excuse for stopping. God, please forgive me later. And yeah, that's not what he wants us to do. That's not holding yourself accountable. That's just not only giving into temptation, but just not standing firm on the foundation, which is God. So one of the first verses I have here is Proverbs 28:13. Whoever conceals his transgressions will not prosper, but he who confesses and forsakes them will obtain mercy. So this is like kind of tying into what I just said, but I also want to share a story. So quick little story time. That's a cool squirrel. Anyway, quick little story time. Back in, well, I have many stories, but I think the first one I want to bring up is back in, I want to say 6th grade. Yeah, 6th grade was probably the worst. So 6th grade, back in middle school, I was a troublemaker, and I like to go around and get attention from people by making fun of myself, by doing stupid things, by making people laugh, right? Little did I know that most of them were laughing at me, not with me, and it wasn't positive attention, it was just attention, and it wasn't really good, and I found that out later. Safe to say I'm fine now, but back then, I just wanted attention, so I was like, okay, I'm going to act like a fool, and we'll see what happens. So every time that I would get in trouble, or that something would happen, or a teacher would call me out, I would always get mad at the teacher and not get mad at myself, right? I would be like, man, that teacher is so lame. They didn't let me run down the hall. Or that teacher is so lame. They didn't let me talk to my friend during class. I never stopped to think, okay, maybe the teacher is trying to tell me something. Maybe I should think about what I'm doing as a person and see if there's something I need to change, because every teacher up until now has said these same exact things about what I'm doing. Just because it's funny doesn't mean it's right or good. So clearly they're saying that for a reason. I need to take a look at myself, reassess my values and my priorities, and figure out what is wrong, figure out what I need to change. And that never came to mind. So throughout the entire year, I would get home and tell my parents, man, these teachers just don't like me. These teachers, they just don't like what I do. They're not my fan. They hate me. They hate me is what I used to say, literally, verbatim. And my dad and mom would tell me that the teacher never really hated me. They were just doing their job. It's just that I acted out so much that they focused on me, because anything I would do would be seen as wrong, because I have a tendency to do wrong, right? At home, even my dad would say the same thing, that whenever a noise was made or there was a loud bang or something, my dad would immediately call my name because I had a tendency to do wrong. So to say that my dad didn't like me, totally wrong statement. But based on habits that I created, which we talked about last week, based on the habits that I created, he recognized the pattern of me usually being the cause of trouble 9 out of 10 times. So him calling on me was just him using his intuition. And let's be honest, 9 out of 10 times he was right. So that doesn't say, me saying that my dad or my teachers or anybody didn't like me is not holding myself accountable. That's just shifting the blame to somebody else because they didn't agree with my morals or my perspective, in a sense. And that mainly ties into another verse that I have here, Psalm 32:5. I acknowledged my sin to you, and I did not cover my iniquity. I said, I will confess my transgressions to the Lord, and you forgave the iniquity of my sin. Selah. Basically, that is talking about specifically what I was talking about, acknowledging my sin and not covering my iniquity. So the first step in even changing my life around was to acknowledge the fact that I was doing wrong. And that happened in 7th grade when a little Six Flags story changed my life around. And I was like, man, I'm not doing right. And then my grandmother's passing also hit me. I was like, man, something's got to change in here. And it was not something that I could just change in one day. So from then on, I was like, okay, I need to change my actions because it's not the people around me that are wrong. It's what's going on in here that's wrong. So first step is acknowledging what you're doing. That's the first step to holding yourself accountable, because you can't hold yourself accountable for something you don't believe you did. That's like me wronging my friend. I've had this happen to me multiple times, and I'm so sorry to everybody that I have wronged by doing this, but someone will come up to me, someone will say to me that I hurt them this way, I hurt them emotionally or physically or even spiritually because I treated them like this, or I did this action to them, or what I said wasn't very kind or appropriate. And there were times where I would literally go, what do you mean? That's not really offensive. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, maybe that's just a you problem, because to me, that didn't seem like a bad thing. And it took me a long time to realize that just because I don't see something as a bad thing doesn't mean it's not bad, because it hurts more people than I'd like to admit, right? So when you're thinking about accountability, to hold yourself accountable is to not say, oh, just because it didn't hurt me, just because I'm fine, means it was okay, so I can keep doing it. No, that's not what that means. Because if that were the case, then we would continue in sin our entire lives and never turn to the Lord. Because what we're doing is okay. It doesn't really hurt other people. But, lust every now and then, go out, drink, smoke, hang out with the wrong people, commit a crime every now and then. I didn't hurt anybody, so it's fine. It's okay. But that goes against God's morals. And that's not holding yourself accountable based on His standards. In a friendship, you got to hold yourself accountable based on not only your standards, but their standards as well, because it's a connection, right? It's a relationship. You're not going to say to them, oh, I hate you. I don't care about whatever your opinions are. You're going to value their opinions. You're going to be like, okay, if you feel a certain way about this topic, I'm sorry. Let me come to an agreement with you. Let me talk about it and see how I can not make that same mistake in the future. That's holding yourself accountable. To not hold yourself accountable is to go up to them and be like, yeah, I know I hurt you, but like, did I really though? Because you didn't, like, I didn't feel anything, so maybe I didn't actually hurt you. That's not how it works. It took me a long time to realize that's not how it works. So that's why I say I apologize to everyone I did that to. But point being, I now hold myself accountable for my actions, whether it be to my friends or to my teachers or to my parents, because it's not their fault that what I do, when it is bad, affects them. And that's another thing holding yourself accountable is good for. When you don't hold yourself accountable, more often than not, your actions affect other people. And I can give tens of millions of examples of this, but I'll give one for now. Back in 7th grade, when I was still goofing, clowning around, there was another Landon that I knew. His name was, I'm not going to drop his last name, but both of us Landons, we were hanging out, cool, having fun. And I didn't really hold myself to the standard of being an academic weapon, as people say. I just was fooling around, having fun, and he was fooling around and having fun too. But at some point in the year, I noticed that his attitude changed. Either late 7th grade or beginning of 8th grade, I noticed his attitude changed. And he wasn't as centered around goofing off anymore. I don't know what happened. I will never know what happened. But point being is that when that happened, me goofing off was still messing with him a little bit and getting him in trouble. And that was kind of an issue that I needed to stop. But I wasn't holding myself accountable to my actions and realizing that it wasn't only affecting me, it was affecting someone that was trying to change around their lives as well. And it's safe to say that we both matured and grew as people, thank goodness. But at that time, I feel like I was hindering him more than helping him as a friend, because every time I just wanted to clown around, goof off, even when he was trying to be a better individual in terms of being more Christ-like. So that ties into not only our lives, but the way we interact with other people's lives as well. If you notice someone's trying to change, hold yourself accountable to the standards of the Lord. Don't be a bad influence for other people, because you're not only going to drag yourself down, you'll go down first, but other people will go down with you because they trust you. They rely on you. They don't need you, but in a sense, they need you. Need you. I put that in air quotes. They rely on you and they care about you and they trust you. They talk to you. They confide in you. So for you to then not hold yourself accountable, and I'll get to that later, but not holding them accountable, you're then dragging them down with you and having just lost two people. It doesn't make sense to only think about yourself, only focus on yourself and say, oh, my actions are okay. Doesn't really matter. Believe it or not, you affect those around you. People see you, people look up to you. If you're older, especially older, like upperclassmen, people look up to you. And when they see that, they then get influenced to do the same thing because, oh, so-and-so did it, so it's okay. Landon did it, So it's fine if I do it because he's an upperclassman. He did it and he turned out fine. So clearly I can do the same thing. Not how that works. And I'm ashamed to say that I have not held myself accountable many times in high school and it's not ended well. So there's just that. I guess another story I have is one that just goes to show how twisted your mind can get, right? So for a while, I liked this person on my swim team. Not gonna say who. A lot of people probably know. But at some point, things just like got weird to a point where I was like kind of obsessed with her and she didn't like me at all. And so I couldn't accept her rejection, right? And so instead of saying that, okay, maybe I just need to change my mind and things will be back to normal, I kept pursuing her, kept annoying her, kept bothering her over and over and over again. And then I got mad at her because she had her own opinion and didn't want to change that just because I was trying to guilt trip her into liking me. And so that was like many, many years ago. And I'm glad that we're both past that whole situation. But that was just like, seeing that now, it like opened my eyes to the fact like, okay, maybe not everything's about me and my desires and what I think, because if I'm opening my mind to a broader perspective of what somebody else wants, what their opinion is, I'm going to see that maybe my actions aren't the best. Maybe I need to hold myself to different standards and say, okay, how can I change my actions to make this whole situation better? I could have avoided so much awkwardness and so much pain throughout the entirety of that quarantine, because that was right at the beginning of quarantine. I could have avoided so many issues during quarantine if I had just changed my mindset, but I didn't. I thought she was the problem, and I thought everyone else was the problem, and I thought I was fine. So I was like, why is everyone being so weird and annoying? But I'm fine, right? Like, that doesn't make any sense. If everyone's saying the same thing, more often than not, the problem is you. But I realize now that the problem was me. Changed my mind, changed my mindset, and now I'm a somewhat calmer man. I can still be rowdy, but not in that sense. Anyway, all that to say, just like holding yourself accountable is not only a thing you do when you're reading the Bible or trying to pray every day or in church. You hold yourself accountable as you go throughout everyday life, as you interact with people, as you go about your relationships, as you create new friendships, as you do your homework, as you even wake up and go to sleep. You hold yourself to a higher standard because that's what God held himself to. That's what Christ held himself to. Christ held himself accountable in every single situation. It's not like he said, oh, yeah, I can hold myself accountable now, but in 20 minutes, I am going to be a free man. That's not what he did. He said, I'm going to hold myself accountable to what my Father needs me to do at all times. No exceptions, no giving in to temptation. And obviously, he was perfect. We can't be perfect, but we can still try to hold ourselves accountable in the same way that Christ did. And that is fostered by having a relationship with God, developing that connection every day so that we know exactly what he wants. We can hear him in our lives. We can feel his presence and know when it is best to act a certain way in every situation, right? You spend time around your best friend. You get to know what they like and don't like, but specifically you know how they react in a situation and you know how they would want you to react in a situation because they sometimes do things to get a reaction out of you. I know I do things to get a reaction out of my friends and they do the same thing. We all try to be funny. So doing things, spending time with God, spending time with Christ, spending time with the Holy Spirit gives you access to his presence. And in that presence, you learn more about him and you learn more about what you can do to please him and what actions will please him, what actions won't please him. Same way it would with the best friend. So doing that, fostering that connection is one of the best steps, one of the best and probably the only ways to holding yourself accountable to God's standards, because you can't know God's standards without knowing God. And you can't know God without developing that relationship, because how are you going to develop a relationship with someone you've never met? This isn't no online dating like Tinder, like random dating apps. Like, I'm going to meet this person and we're going to be talking for 3, 4, 5 years. And then we're only going to meet after those 5 years. Don't get me wrong. Relationships like that happen. I'm not saying they don't, but that's not God. God does not do that. He wants a close, intimate, and personal relationship with you and everybody else on the planet. So he's not going to sit at a distance for 5 years while you sit at a distance for 5 years and say, yeah, this is good enough. God's like all the way in Australia. I call him every now and then. I text him. We FaceTime. That's all, You got to have that close personal relationship. Walk with him. Talk with him. Be with him. Spend time with him. Pray with him. Act like he's right here at all times, because he is right here at all times, right next to you, all the time. And that's another mindset thing to help you hold yourself accountable. But I digress. Anyway, another way to hold yourself accountable is to have someone around to hold you accountable. Because we know God is around, like I was just saying, but obviously he's not physical. He's not there in your ear at all times telling you. Now you can hear the Holy Spirit tell you things. Yes, but sometimes that's not going to happen every single time. God's not going to speak to you at every single time, because sometimes he lets us go through things to test our faith or test our perseverance or to teach us a lesson. So it's good to have friends that hold you accountable as well. And I wanted to talk about that with one of these verses. Proverbs 27:17, very popular verse. Iron sharpens iron, and one man sharpens another. Galatians 6:1-2 also says, brothers, if anyone is caught in transgression, you who are spiritual should restore him in a spirit of gentleness. Keep watch on yourself, lest you too be tempted. Bear one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. That said everything I need to say right there. First sentence. Brothers, if anyone is caught in any transgression, you who are spiritual should restore him in a spirit of gentleness. If anyone is caught in a problem, in a situation, in a temptation, in a transgression, you need to restore him, but not aggressively. Don't yell at him. Don't be like, man, you're terrible. You're a terrible person. Why are you doing this? Blah, blah, blah. Restore him in a spirit of gentleness. You can be gentle and still be direct. A lot of times people will try and be gentle with their friends by sugarcoating, but they're not as direct as they need to be. One person I know that is very direct with me, and when I need to be, is Daniel Burko. Always love Daniel, because he's probably another person that I can always go to for real advice. He will tell me how it is straight up and not sugarcoat things. Another person I can do that with is Brandon, my roommate. We laugh about stuff, we joke, but when I need him to be serious, he's serious. And when I need him to tell me things, he tells me things. So get you friends that don't tell you what you want to hear, but tell you what you need to hear. Very common phrase in our day and age, but not a lot of people practice that. I know at least 5. Okay, I'm not trying to make this a gender thing, because I know guys like this too, but I know at least 5 girls that hang around with friends that they do not like. And so I'm like, but they will go out to those friends and be like, oh my goodness, you're so pretty. Oh my gosh, you're so great to be around. I love you. You were just talking bad about them 5 seconds ago, and then you're going to go up to them and act like you love them. But if they were to ever ask advice from that person, they'd be like, oh yeah, you look great. How do I look? They'd be like, you look great. You look so pretty. But then they go behind her back and be like, man, I hate that girl. She looks ugly. I don't understand. That's not a friend at all, 1. 2, but that's not a friend that holds you accountable and tells you the truth. You can have friends like that are real, that actually mean what they say. But if they say that all the time, then they're not being entirely truthful, because there's no way your friend agrees with you 24/7. Friends have arguments. Girlfriend and boyfriends have arguments. Husband and wife have arguments. Everyone has arguments, because you are not like one other person. You're going to have disagreements. So for someone to always agree with everything you do, literally impossible. Unless they're just a yes man, at which point you need to hold them accountable, because that's not good at all. But on the same note, having a friend that always tells you that what you're doing is wrong is low-key draining. If your friend's always saying, no, bad idea, terrible idea, you should not, don't do that, actually, you should do this. That's low-key just kind of condescending. And you need to, discernment is good in those situations, because you need to figure out whether that friend is actually a friend, or they're just trying to say that they're better than you in one way or another. Because I know some people that say they're my friend, but a lot of people in 8th and 9th grade said they were my friend, but they did not they barely knew about me, bro. And they would only like talk to me when like situation arose or when we were in like vicinity or like some convenient timing. Like they never talked to me outside of that. They didn't know what was going on in my life. I was struggling. They weren't there. Get you someone that's there in the struggle, there to hold you accountable, there to be there as your rock. You know what I mean? If you always get a bunch of yes men or people that aren't there for you when you need them, then what's the point in having accountability friends, man? I wouldn't call Daniel my accountability partner, but we definitely hold each other accountable more often than not. Especially 2 years ago, we were both going through something and we were like this, bro. Talking to each other every day, going through same type of situations, and that's how we grew close and developed a bond. So now we tell each other everything. And that's kind of how it is. Like, you develop bonds with people you care about. And through those bonds, you understand, okay, what are they struggling with? But also, what are their strengths, you know? Every person has strengths and weaknesses, and that's not to say that everybody will be strong in every situation and everyone will be weak in other situations, because there are exceptions, you know. But to understand someone's strengths and weaknesses is to understand them as a person, and to be able to help them better, you need to understand them as a person. You can't hold someone accountable to a standard if you don't know how they act all the time. You know what I mean? That's like me meeting someone on one day and immediately telling them like, oh, what are you doing? Like, why are you going over there to a class at 2:00? Like, that's a terrible thing to do. Like, who are you? Like, who am I to say that? I don't even know the person. So like, if someone like meets you and they're doing that off rip, probably not a good idea to be friends with them, because they're just judging across everyone that comes across them. Judging everybody that comes across them. That's another point I want to make. There's a difference between holding someone accountable and judging people. A lot of Christians go around judging people. Not a lot of Christians go around holding people accountable. And there is a difference that needs to be made. When you judge someone, you're doing it out of a place of, I'm better than you, or you are worse than me. Because we're all on the same playing field, right? We're all on earth. We're all sinners. We're all here trying to be faithful children of God. Or we're all here trying to know about God. Or not trying to know about God. Regardless, we're all in the same little pool. In the same, ocean. In the same sea. We're all in the same little boat. So, why do I have any right to believe that I am better than somebody else? That I can talk to them like they're doing everything wrong, when I know for a fact that my core of my being is wrong. And the only way it got right is because the Holy Spirit came to live there. So I have no right to tell other people that they're wrong. I have no right to tell other people that I'm right, because I'm not. I know for a fact I'm not. If I ever said that to you, I'm so sorry. Now, in an argument, I can be right. Like, let's be real. But in life, I am not right. Don't follow me. Don't say what I'm doing is the right thing to do, because it's not. The right thing to do is what God wants. But anyway, judging is that, like, accountability is different from judging in the sense that it comes from a place of love, a place of care, a place of genuine concern. Like, if you're genuinely concerned about someone, you're not just going to sit there and let them do. Say I'm sitting in the passenger seat, right? And someone's driving next to me. It's like my friend. Let's say Jonathan, for example. Jonathan's driving the car next to me, and I'm in the passenger seat. And as he's driving, he, like, starts to, drift lanes a little bit. And I look over and see he's, like, kind of falling asleep a little bit. If I care about the dude, I'm going to tell him to pull over and that I can drive, because he looks like he's falling asleep on the wheel. Now, if I judge him, I'm going to be like, what is wrong with you, dude? Pay attention to the road. Like, oh my goodness. We're literally about to crash. Like, pay attention to the road. And I can say that in a joking manner, yeah, but if you genuinely cared about that person, you'd also be like, dude, we're about to crash. Like, okay, do you need me to drive? Because you seem like you're falling asleep, kind of thing. Like, there's a balance between care and being direct, being forward with them, as opposed to sugarcoating it and being like, oh no, you're fine, dude, you get it. Or better example, hold up. I guess a better example would be like cheating on a test or something like that. You see someone cheating on a test, and to hold them accountable is to say, hey dude, saw you cheating on that test. Do you need help studying? Because that's not the right way to go about it. So if you need help studying, just let me know. Like, we can study together so that you're more prepared for the next test, something like that. Judgment would be, Dude, I saw you cheating in that test. What is wrong with you? Like, why would you ever do that? That is not the right thing to do at all, man. Cringe. Like, that's judgment. I don't think we should come off in that way. And that's how a lot of Christians come off. Like, they're like, why would you do that? Why would you ever commit that sin? What is wrong with you? That's not holding someone accountable. That's just judgment, dude. That's just saying they're a terrible person and that nothing they ever do is going to be right because they continue in wrong. If that were the case, then sign me up for like being wrong for the rest of my life because I'm a sinner too. But the difference is I am rooted in love and I'm rooted in Christ. So why, if I'm rooted in love, am I going to talk to someone not in a loving manner? Doesn't make any sense. And I say this every episode, but a lot of things that some Christians do don't make sense because it goes against the whole personality of Jesus Christ. But I digress. All I'm saying is that there's a difference between judgment and accountability. So know if your friends are judging you and know if your friends are holding you accountable. Some of my friends will judge me and not hold me accountable. And I'll be like, so do you just think I'm the worst person ever? Like, should I just leave your life? Like, I don't get it. They say that they're my friend, but they always say things that'll like belittle me or make me feel like less of a person. I don't understand how that's supposed to make me feel like you care about me. To care about someone is to say, okay, I'm genuinely concerned. Let me tell you why I'm concerned, express to you my worries so that you can think about it from a different perspective. And if they're a true friend, they're going to think about it from your perspective and be like, okay, maybe I need to start changing the ways I hold myself accountable. Maybe I need to start worrying about different things and prioritizing different things as opposed to what I am now. And I feel like I speak with a lot of I don't know the word. I forgot grammar class, like objects, like that, this, there, that, things. So many vague like terms and not specific examples, but I do have specific examples. I have many specific examples, but I want to get across the broader point of why it's good to have someone to hold you accountable, why it's good to hold yourself accountable to God's standards as opposed to the world's. And I mean, one quick example. Say I hold myself accountable to the world standards. If I were doing that, right? I'm 19, a sophomore in college. World standards, this culture standards, I should have a girlfriend by now. Like, I should be with someone, or I should have already gotten laid. Like, something should have happened already. But that's not what I want because those aren't where my standards are aligned. That's not what I'm holding myself accountable to. I'm not holding myself accountable to what the world says because this world's culture is completely messed up and it will remain messed up until God comes back. But I hold myself to God's standards, and that's different than holding myself to another Christian on the planet. Don't do that. Don't hold yourself to another Christian on the planet because if you try to follow a man, you're going to be misled. Got to follow God. Don't follow don't follow a pastor, don't follow a priest, don't follow a fellow brother or sister in Christ. You got to follow the Lord. Because where do you think they got that? Where do you think they got their standards? Where do you think they got the discipline to hold themselves accountable in those situations? Definitely got it from God. There's no other option, there's no other answer. And even if you think you didn't get it from God, you got it from God. Like, everything we have is from the Lord. Talked about that last week. Talked about that the week before. Everything we have is from the Lord. So there's nothing you can or can't do that is not from God. It's just a fact of life. The quicker you get used to it, the quicker you can thank Him for it. You know what I mean? So that's kind of all I have for today. Just, be active, be proactive in holding yourself accountable. Don't be reactive. Don't be like, okay, this happened. I'm going to blame it. And then, because I didn't do anything wrong, so this situation is to blame. Even holding God accountable for your actions is just wrong because God doesn't make you do anything. You have free will to do what you want. So if you're saying God made you sin or God made you do this or God made you do that, that is not correct. God influenced you to praise and worship Him, at least on my behalf, but He did not influence me to go and commit a crime. He gave me free will. That doesn't mean He made me do it. I did it on my own free volition because I'm a sinner, I guess. So, hold yourself accountable to God's standards, but hold others to those standards as well. It will never be a wrong thing to tell a friend what they're doing isn't the best for them. If If they're a true friend, they're going to care about what your opinion is, and they're going to say, okay, why do you think that? Why do you think the actions that I'm partaking in are not the best for my health? And then you can explain to them your perspective, explain to them why God says so and so, says this in the Bible, why he says what you're doing is not wrong or not right, sorry. And, go about methods or thinking of ways to perform not better, but perform things that are better for your health in a sense. So if they're a true friend, they're going to appreciate that. They're going to be like, okay, thanks, man. I'll take that into consideration. Maybe try some of those things you mentioned. And they're going to be very thankful, They're not going to be, okay, ew, why would you say that to me? I'm just going to do what I want. I'm not going to listen to you. That's not a friend. That's a friend, maybe, but not a true friend, because a true friend would listen. A true friend is caring and kind and considerate. Friends like those, they just want to do what they want to do. And if someone tells them otherwise, they're going to be like, man, forget you. You're not my friend. You don't want to see me thrive. But a friend that wants to see you thrive will tell you when what you're doing is wrong or bad for you, man. People that always want to hear yeses and never want to hear no's will never realize that. Because people that tell you what you want to hear, they don't want the best for you. They don't want to hold you accountable to their standards or God's standards or anyone's standards, because they just want you to be happy. And while that is true, that's a good thing to think. To let you partake in whatever makes you happy may not be the best course of action, especially coming from a Christian mindset, knowing that some of the actions you partake in are not leading to true permanent happiness as some faithful actions would. So to just let them go about their day and be like, you want to live your life that certain way, I'm going to let you do that because I'm your friend. Not the right thing to do, man. Got to hold them accountable. Got to be like, hey, I'm your friend, so I'm going to let you know that what you're doing probably won't end well. That's all you got to say. And have a conversation about it. Let them know. And however they respond, I don't know. Let God do the rest. So, anyway, that's probably where I'll wrap up today. Next week, I don't know what I'm going to be talking about. I don't know why I say this every week. Like, next week's topic is completely based on what happens during the week. I don't have it planned out for this week. Probably the following Wednesday I will, because things will probably get busy and I won't have time to come up with something on the fly. So, next week, something crazy will be talked about. Stay tuned. Definitely not blowing something out of proportion, but yeah. Anyway, that's about it. See you guys next week, and have a blessed day. Bye.